Look, the dynamic duo.
Hey guys, welcome to the Dynamic Duo. I'm Franz.
I'm Kevin. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the one and only Batcave and Avengers Tower. In this episode, folks, we are going to get down and dirty. We're going to get back to basics. And we're going to tell you the truth.
The truth, the absolute truth. Kevin, you're absolutely right because I'm pissed. I'm pissed. And I'm pissed on about several different things. And I know that you're mad too. So what is it that you want to talk about? I'm ready for a rant. What are you ready for?
Well, to be honest, and I know the entire world is waiting for the two upcoming Avengers movies. Now, deep down, you and I are also waiting with that same crowd. But
Right.
we are waiting with some differences. I honestly, as talented as the Russo brothers are and the talent team that they have put together to make these two movies happen, I'm glad for it. But I am also pissed because to me, a lot of it either doesn't work, shouldn't work, or isn't going to work. And what I mean by that, number one, first and foremost, as much as I love Robert Downey Jr. as an actor, and I do, I think he is a phenomenal talent. But deep down, ladies and gentlemen, the truth is he should not be in Doctor Doom's armor. He should not be playing this role. It's not his, and I don't give a damn how many variants, how many boom tubes, how many different versions on different worlds you create. Even though they have done this in the comics, the idea behind it does not work. It does not work. Doom, in my opinion, has always been, as my partner has said and will say in this show a number of times, I'm sure Doom has always been brilliant on so many levels, but the thing is, he has always been an opposing presence.
Correct.
A lot like Darth Vader, for instance. Okay?
Correct.
Robert Downey Jr. is not that iconic presence, in my opinion. You need someone that, if he was looking at Reed Richards or Captain America or whoever you put in front of him, there is a certain regalness to him and a certain stature of evil as well as cunning that Doom possesses. And I don't think they've given it to Downey. It's just not there. And this whole business of, oh, we brought back everybody or just about everybody we can think of. Ladies and gentlemen, do you know what my answer to that is? Okay, fine, but who gives a shit? We are looking at the repeat of two movies from a few years back. And what I mean by that is all this is a rehash of the Thanos story And ladies and gentlemen, you'll have to forgive me for going on and on. I'm not trying to do this, but I feel that my point needs to be made. Okay?
I couldn't agree with you more, Kevin. And and I think you're right. I think your point needs to be made, and I think we have to find a way to find our voices, find a way to get our voices heard somehow, because I think they're making a mistake. I think they're making a terrible mistake. For me, it's slightly different. I do understand, and I agree with you with what you said regarding Robert Downey Jr. not necessarily being the ideal character for Doctor Doom. I get that. Having said that, I've learned in the past to sort of be humble in terms of my expectations of actors' deliveries. I've been wrong before. The truth is, I didn't think Robert Downey Jr. would have been a perfect Iron Man because the characters that he played previously weren't necessarily a good Tony Stark version. But somehow he brought the character to life. I've made the mistake of thinking Pedro Pascal wouldn't be a good Mr. Fantastic. He proved me wrong. I was irate about, you know what, if he has the mustache, it's not Reed Richards. So I've been wrong in the past. And so I'm going to learn from that and say that as an actor, okay, Robert Downey Jr. could deliver Doctor Doom. Here's my beef. Robert Downey Jr. needs to deliver Doctor Doom, not Victor Von Doom. In other words, he should never take off that mask. It is essential that we don't see Robert Downey Jr. in the mask. And there are several reasons for that. Several reasons for that. The primary reason is if he does, it's going to create confusion in the minds of the audience, Kevin. Why is Tony Stark Doctor Doom? In order to make that make sense, you have to come up with a convoluted, all kinds of multiverse type stories, which itself is going to be confusing. It's not going to be a linear story. In order to make that fit, you have to come up with something that's really extravagant. Why is Tony Stark Doctor Doom? The second thing it's going to do, Kevin, is that it's absolutely going to ruin Doctor Doom. They keep saying that Doctor Doom is the number one villain of the Marvel Universe. They keep saying that Doctor Doom is one of the best villains ever created. So, to such an extent that even Darth Vader is supposed to be based on Doctor Doom, right? So what are you going to do with the best villain ever created? Are you really going to take that character and deconstruct him into a new character? Are you serious? Is he Doctor Doom in name only? The disrespect that the producers and the fans have for these characters is what I'm ranting about, is what's pissing me off. There are factors that make Doctor Doom, that are the reasons why Doctor Doom is who he is as popular, is as meaningful as he is as a villain. And if you change that, you're going to change it into something completely different. Could it work? Possibly. Why take that chance? The second thing is that you're absolutely alienating a portion of your audience. So, for example, me. Part of the reasons why I don't love the Spider-Man movies, the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, it's not because they're not good movies. They're absolutely legitimately good movies. I would argue that there's some structural things that I didn't appreciate but it doesn't matter. They're good movies. The reason why they don't resonate with me is that I don't see my Spider-Man. It's not a Spider-Man that I recognize. It's not an Aunt May that I recognize. It's not a Flash Thompson. It's not a Mary Jane Watson. It's not the character that I grew up and loved. So when you do that, yeah, it's possible that it's going to work. People love the Tom Holland movie. I'm not denying that. But you're also alienating a portion of your audience. Why do that when you don't need to? So you would be taking Doctor Doom, creating confusion, and changing the character altogether. Another thing that's pissing me off is the lack of understanding of Doctor Doom. It appears that these guys are going to make Doctor Doom this all-powerful Thanos-like character. The latest rumor, and this is what's ticking me off, and forgive me for ranting, but the latest rumor is that Doctor Doom is going to be beating up Thor, perhaps beating him to death, and then taking the Mjolnir and throwing it at him. And first of all, being able to lift Mjolnir and then tossing it at Thor. And it's like, bro, you don't know Thor, and you don't know Doctor Doom. Doctor Doom was never an all-powerful character. He's powerful. But the power doesn't come from like physical strength. Doctor Doom can't fight Thor. He can barely fight the Thing. Doctor Doom, Doctor Doom's genius is his danger. It's kind of like a Lex Luthor with a suit. And it's the trap that he sets that makes him dangerous to the Fantastic Four. He's not going toe to toe with the Fantastic. He doesn't present the same danger to the Fantastic Four that Tarex the Tamer does. It's a different type of danger. Now, has there been time when Doctor Doom has become all powerful? Yes, he's stolen the power of the Silver Surfer. He's done other things to become all powerful. But that proves the distinction that I'm making. He's not always all powerful, and he's not an all powerful character. Can Doctor Doom be in a room with the X-Men and fight the X-Men? Yes, but it's not a toe to toe. It's a Rick and Morty type of approach. I'm a genius. I'm going to set traps. I'm going to use weapons. I'm going to do things that are going to boggle your mind. And next thing you know, you're trapped. That's how he operates. And so to have Doctor Doom beating up Thor is not characteristic of Doctor Doom. You're changing him. If you're making him a fisticuff type of guy, he's no longer the guy that he is. The second thing that it does, and I'm sick and tired of this, and this is the rant that I have. Thor, Kevin, they ruined Thor. The MCU has ruined Thor. They have no idea who the character is. And the last thing that we heard about Thor was that he was the big, as you like to call him, the Big Lebowski. And the end of the Endgame, he was the Big Lebowski. And not only was he the Big Lebowski, Kevin, but he was getting his ass kicked by Thanos, where freaking Captain America wasn't, where Captain Marvel wasn't. Bro, Jesus Christ. That's not Thor. They took Thor, they made him into a comedic joke, and then a weakling, and then a fat, out-of-shape weakling. They completely ruined the character. And I know that you people in the audience don't understand what Thor is. And I keep trying to tell you, read the freaking comic books, go back. And it's a character that, bro, there's just so much you could do with him. I was watching Avatar the other day. I love that movie. You know that, Fire and Ash. And you know what the only thought in my mind was? My thought was, can you imagine having a Thor movie to that level and that quality? Having Thor fighting battles for Asgard, military battles. That's what... And so they're ruining Thor, just as they've ruined the Incredible Hulk, and just as, in my opinion, they've ruined Spider-Man. So it's... Listen, these are rumors, and I don't want to get too irate about the rumors, but another thing that's pissing me off is the way that the audience seems to be reacting to this news. All right, I don't know if it's Thor's going to get his ass kicked by Doctor Doom or not. But guess what? The rumor is out there. And guess what? The YouTubers are like, oh, that's great news. This is going to be awesome. I can't wait to see, Doctor Doom beat up Thor. What? Let me ask you a question. What exactly are these guys fans of? What exactly do they love? Like, seriously, how could you love something and want the opposite of that thing? Explain that to me. So I'm exacerbated. Listen, could the Russo brothers pull this off? People have done worse things. Stupider things have been more successful. As I said, I'm not a big fan of Endgame, but it made, $2 billion. So it's possible that having the gimmick of having 1 million characters on the big screen, of bringing the X-Men back, and having Doctor Doom be up, it's possible that gimmick might work. And it might work in the sense of it might be a big money maker. But Kevin, is it as good as what could be done? Is it as good as what should be done? These guys are emulating, Kevin, failed material. And every time Marvel has emulated failed material, guess what? It failed too. Just even when it's good. So Thor Ragnarok not Thor Ragnarok, Thor Love and Thunder, which which emulated Jane Foster Thor. That was a failed concept in the comic book. Why would you think it would work on the big screen? And it failed in the big screen. Sam Wilson, Captain America, was not successful in the comic books. Why? Even though I like the movie, I think it's a very good movie. I think it's an excellent movie. Not perfect, but as good as, if not better than, a lot of the stuff that people are thinking is perfect. But it didn't work. It wasn't well received. Why? Because that material didn't test well in the comic books. People associate Captain America with Steve Rogers, and you change that, you're changing the core character, and so on and so forth. So why continue to emulate material that has not been successful? Part of the reasons why Endgame and Infinity Gauntlet and all that stuff work is because that's a classic storyline in a comic book that people resonate with. The Infinity Gauntlet. That's not true for Doomsday. That's not true for Secret Wars. Those are not Planet Hulk. So I'm just frustrated. I just don't understand why you want to emulate stuff that hasn't been successful, B, want to change the characters that are successful and reinventing them and taking that risk of alienating your fans, and C, shitting on the characters that we love, because that's what they've done. They've shitted on Thor, they've shitted on Hulk, and in my opinion, shitted on Spider-Man. Sorry, man, that's my rant.
It's okay, and if I may, ladies and gentlemen, to add to what my partner is saying, I feel that all we're really going to get out of these two films are repeats of Infinity War and Endgame. I believe honestly that the story is going to suffer. I believe honestly that the movie going public may go the first 2 or 3 weeks, the first month. And after that, I truly believe there's going to be a massive drop-off. Why? Because I believe the general movie-going public, not the comic book fan, but Uncle Bob and Aunt Nancy, that are going to take their grandson or their nephew or what have you to the movie, is going to become so confused and so disenchanted with the material that it's not going to hold up. And putting the actors, the previous actors, back in these roles is not enough to make it work. We have seen this already. Do you want proof that you've seen it already? They're already telling you what the storyline is. They're already showing you what the storyline is. These two films are nothing more than an apology tour for Marvel. And what I mean by an apology tour, and you all are going to hate me for saying this, but because most of the Thor films have not worked, in my personal opinion, Shang-Chi didn't really hold up and work all that well, even though it was a decent movie. The Eternals did not do what Marvel wanted it to do at the box office. Neither did uh, when you get right down to it, neither did Black
Thunderbolts,
Widow, and
Black Widow.
neither
Yeah.
and when you honestly add everything together, and I don't care about what the box office numbers are and were, Captain Marvel really didn't work. Not when you really get right down to it. And in order to keep that end of the company working, both Disney and Marvel have come up with this, and all they're doing is rolling the dice and repeating what we've already seen. As I said earlier, this is a Thanos style story all over again. You're going to have all of these characters coming together again, almost like you did with Infinity War. And guess what, ladies and gentlemen? This is not a spoiler, but it's part of your storyline to begin with. This movie is going to end on a downbeat because they are going to set you up to deal with
Secret
the
Wars.
second half of this and Doom World and what have you for the other end of what this is. This has to end almost the same way that Infinity War did. You're going to have a bunch of characters either dead, wounded, or near death, or non existent to begin with. There is no doubt in my mind or anybody else that knows the backstory for most of this. Secret Wars has to start with this being a bad outing when it's over.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point, and that's a dangerous point. Ending on a bad note is never a good thing. Here's my problem. It's not a problem, but here's where it's not that I disagree with you because everything that you're saying makes perfect sense. It's logical. But to me, it's like the stock market. You know, when I analyze a stock, I'm looking at the PE ratio, I'm looking at the history of the company. But what I've come to realize is that when you do that, it's not a black and white 2+2=4 formula. And so everything that you're saying makes sense, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to translate in terms of the box office. I've seen bad movies make a ton of money, and I've seen really good movies not make any money. So the logic doesn't necessarily always correlate, even though most of the time it does. So I agree with everything that you're saying, but there's a possibility that the gimmick may work. So there are two. Let me be fair. To be fair, the Russo brothers are very smart. To be fair, the Russo brothers are really good directors. They know how to deliver a scene. They know how to maximize the scene. Winter Soldier is just a brilliant piece of work. Civil War was a really, really good film. Well delivered, tight. It lacks a little something for me, but that's my personal thing. It's a brilliant. So the Russo brothers are capable of delivering a good, cohesive, solid, intelligent movie. They're capable of that. That's number one. Number two is it's also possible that the gimmicks may work. One of the things that I've learned about the internet is that they determine success or failure way before the movie comes out. Okay. And they either are pro or against. And once they've made up their mind, even if it's a masterpiece of work, it sucks. And everybody agrees. Everybody thinks Ragnarok is a good movie. I'm sick and tired of hearing how many people say, "Oh, that's my favorite Marvel movie." That's your favorite Marvel movie, but that's the consensus because that's what the internet has dictated, and a lot of people don't think for themselves and realize the movie is silly and stupid and is flawed in a million ways. If you don't believe me, check out the rant that I had in my Thor Ragnarok show. So the same way so the internet kind of dictates yay or nay. And right now, Marvel's marketing, and we have to give them credit, is smart enough. They're dropping little hints. We did a show about that previously. They're dropping little hints here and there that's generating interest and that's generating talk and excitement. And so far, the tea leaves that I'm reading in terms of the response has been positive. People are like, "Oh, excited," even when they shouldn't be. Even when they hear Thor's going to get his ass kicked by Doctor Doom, they're like, "Oh my God, I can't wait to see that." So it seems to be a positive movement. So the marketing that they're doing movie at this stage, the movie's still a year away, seems to be working. And so there's a possibility that despite everything that we're talking about, despite the fact that you're absolutely right, having a huge cast may be a problem, there's a possibility that A, the movie's still good, and B, regardless of whether it's good or not, the gimmick works and it becomes a huge blockbuster. Those are possibilities. So I'm not ready to say it's going to be a box office failure or not. What I'm saying is that why take the risk? Why do things that you know are going to turn off even a portion of your audience? Even a portion of your audience. So the guy that you talked about, the uncle that's going to take his kid, they don't know about Thor. That's why so many people love Thor Ragnarok. They don't know Thor. So I hate that movie, but it's a well-loved movie. I like that face. So those changes, changing Doctor Doom, blah, 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 may not affect them the same way they affect us. But my question is, why mess with us? Because there's a lot of us. We, Kevin, are responsible for this material being made into movies in the first place. We, Kevin, are the basis on which that the success of those movies is based on. We are the foundation of that success. So why mess with us? Why change it when you don't need to? And why take a formula that's been proven to work for 40, 50 years and test it with something new? That's my problem. Why base something on a formula that didn't resonate? That's my problem. It may still work. A lot of problems with current comic books is that, and I had a conversation with Sal Buscema about this once, and he articulated it very well. He basically explained that comics today are basically storyboards for movies, as opposed to comic books. The storytelling is different. So that doesn't work necessarily in a comic book because the pacing of a comic book should be different than the pacing of a movie. But it's appropriate for a movie. So it's possible that Doom World or Secret Wars didn't work in the comic books, but translated it as a movie, it may work. What I'm trying to say is that, let's say, for example, you take a classic Spider-Man story, and you say to yourself that you're going to tell that story as it's told in a comic book as a movie. Well, then you have to take that story and flesh it out and tell it in a different way. Well, that's the stretch. That's when it goes from comic book to storyboard, because you have to stretch it out to make it make more sense. The origin of the Fantastic Four is told in 2 pages, and it wouldn't work that way in a comic book. So it's possible that it might work. It's possible. I'm not denying that. I've been wrong in the past. I was wrong with Pedro Pascal. By the way, I watched Fantastic Four again, and it's a really good movie. It's a really, really good movie. I really, really love that movie. And it's a shame that it's not more beloved, because they did a lot of things right. I feel, anyway, there were a couple of things, but anyway. So the point is, it may work. I'm no expert. My only question is, why take the chance? Why do material that didn't resonate? And why piss on these characters, some of these characters? Why ruin these characters? Why would you do that to Thor? Russo brothers, much respect. Why would you do that to Thor? Why would you do that to the Hulk? Kevin, do you realize, and no one realizes this except you and I, do you realize that they completely, the Russo brothers, completely destroyed the Hulk? The whole basis of the Hulk is that he is the personification of anger. He is the guy who will not put up with anything. That's people think it's a superpower that the angrier he gets, the stronger he gets. It's not a superpower. He doesn't get stronger as, like he's gaining power. He gets stronger the same way I get stronger when I'm pissed off. He gets stronger the same way a mother who's trying to rescue her child can lift the car, right? And that anger comes from the fact that he cannot stand being abused. He can't stand being bullied. That's who he is, okay? And so they take that character and they punk him out, Kevin. They made him a punk. He was afraid of Thanos.
I know.
He was afraid of Thanos. Do you realize that the Savage Hulk in the MCU, as told by the Russo brothers, before he became Professor Hulk, which is a different Hulk, punked out? The last bit that he was he's afraid. That's the contrary to the character. The same way it's contrary to Thor to be the Big Lebowski. And so that's my problem. That's my problem. I happen to believe in this material. I happen to think that this material, as is, as told by John Buscema, Jack Kirby, Stan Lee, who did we interview? Englehart, Wolfman, you name it. All the guys that we've talked to, I think it's better than what they've given us. That's my belief.
We've got a year to go. All I can say is, ladies and gentlemen, you've been warned.
Listen, as we always say, let us know if you agree or disagree. Let us know. We get a lot of views, but people are not commenting. Also, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Help build this channel. If you agree with us, if you share our point of view, if you care about these characters as much as we do, hey, call us out on our BS. If we're wrong, let us know. I don't think so.
We'll see you soon.